In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, and may the peace and blessing of Allah be upon His last and beloved Messenger Muhammad, and may the peace and blessing of Allah be upon you all. The title of this lecture is, what is the wisdom behind all of your actions being for the sake of Allah, God Almighty? Now, we can understand this title more by pondering upon the following Quranic verse, which is verse number 162 of chapter 6 of the Quran, which reads, this is a translation of the verse, say, verily, my prayer, my sacrifice, my living, and my dying are for Allah God, the Lord of all that exists. So if we ponder upon this verse, we realize that Allah God Almighty is ordering us that all of our actions should be for His sake. What does this mean? Now, when, for example, you do a job and you do it well, Allah wants you that the intention behind this is that to please Him, to please Allah God Almighty, that Allah will be pleased with you. Not that you want money, your main focus is money, or you want the position, a higher position in the company, or you want reward from humans. Now, I want to discuss the wisdom behind this, the wisdom of this Quranic teaching, what Allah Almighty advised us to do. Let's take the topic of money. Suppose that your aim or your intention in what you do is to earn more and more money. Now, what will happen is that you become greedy and you want more and more money, and in the process you can do injustice to people. And you can push people aside, you can stumble, you can put people under your feet to get more money. And that, of course, will make a bad community and will bring you pain in this life and the hereafter. Also, the topic of authority and higher positions, that your kind of, if your work, the intention of what you do is to get higher kind of positions and positions of leadership and authority, then again what will happen is that you might do injustice to people, you might cheat people, you might rob people to get that position. And again, that will make a bad community and so many crimes. But if your work is for the sake of Allah God Almighty, that you want Him to be pleased with you and you want reward from Him, then you will never do injustice to a person to get money or a position of authority, because that goes against pleasing Allah God Almighty. So you see that when your actions are for the sake of Allah and that you want Allah to be pleased with you, then that will shield you of doing bad things that will ruin the community and will bring you pain and despair in this life and hereafter. Now, another topic is the topic of reward. Now, if your intention or you seek the reward of people, what probably would happen is the following, that so many people, when they are asking the reward of people, they want higher positions and they struggling for that, and they might do injustice to get that position. Now, when he's retired or when he's maybe fired from his work, what will happen is that he goes in a spiral of depression and he becomes angry and bitter. Why? Because he wants the reward of people. Now, if you are doing your work for the sake of Allah Almighty, and maybe people might fire you or you might resign, you will not have this kind of depression, because you know that in your work you pleased Allah Almighty and Allah will reward you for this in this life and hereafter. And you know for sure that Allah will reward you, because the reward of Allah is certain, but the reward of people is uncertain. So to summarize all of these points, that when you do your work in this life and everything you do or you say is that you are seeking that Allah will be pleased with you, then this will lead to a good community, because it will remove greed, it will remove people doing injustice to each other to get these kind of objectives like money or position of authority. So we see, brothers and sisters, how the teachings of Allah Almighty and His commandments are all based on mercy. Allah God Almighty is the most merciful. He wants mercy unto people. So if you apply this, you will have a good community. And to give an example, writers and thinkers when they want to picture the perfect city or the perfect community, the first thing they do, they remove the greed for money and position of leadership. If you think about it, in literature, any kind of writer, when he wants to put the perfect city or the happy community, the first thing that he removes is the struggle for money and leadership. So Allah teaches us this directly, but because the majority of people don't apply it, they find themselves in the pain and despair they find themselves into. So Allah teaches us in the Quran, the basis for a good community is that every person, his action is for the sake of Allah Almighty. That will remove so many bad qualities like greed, like injustice, like doing crimes to get money. And you be rest assured that Allah Almighty will reward you because His promise is truth. And Prophet Muhammad teaches us this, so you can see also the mercy of Prophet Muhammad onto people. And to know more details about this topic, please visit my website at www.quran-miracle.com, and you can email me at zaidquran@yahoo.com, and may the peace and mercy of Allah be upon you all.